Are you a yoga teacher who is struggling to start teaching online because you're not even sure where to start? You don't have a production agency, you don't have a yoga studio, you don't even have the space in your home, but you have the skills and the knowledge and the desire and passion to teach yoga. You just don't quite have the setup. In this video, I'm giving you a 7-part framework to getting you set up as a team of one to start teaching online yoga from the comfort of your own home. By the end of this video, you will have the information needed to just simply get started and a little bit more confidence in starting your at-home yoga business for virtual yoga. For more advice and tips and tricks for yoga teachers to becoming more confident both online and offline, make sure you hit the subscribe button and also that little bell notification so that you can be the first notified to when I upload new videos. If this is your first time watching one of my videos, welcome. My name is Ashley. I'm a yoga teacher trainer, yoga studio owner, all things yoga, and I love instilling confidence and little golden nuggets to new yoga teachers to help spread the message of yoga, health, and wellness throughout the world. In today's video, we are focusing on teaching yoga from home, from the comfort of our own home. How can we exactly set that up if you don't own a yoga studio? Take these tips I'm giving you and implement them so that you can get started and stop procrastinating when starting your virtual yoga business. Okay, now let's get into the 7 parts of getting started teaching yoga from home as a virtual yoga teacher. Number 1, I want you to think about your equipment. What do you currently have that you could use to just get started? 3 main things. You need something to capture video. If you've got a cell phone, then you're good to go. You need something to capture your audio. Again, your cell phone is usually fine. And you need lighting. If you want to upgrade, you've got a lot of options there. So your video equipment could be your laptop, it could be an iPad, it could be a fancy DSLR camera. The best thing you can do is start with what you have and upgrade slowly one piece at a time. The first thing that you would want to upgrade is probably your microphone. So the audio needs to come out crisp and clear for your viewers and for your students. I really like wireless microphones just because you can clip it onto your shirt and just go with it, and you don't have to do a voiceover and you don't have to attach the video and the audio separately, so you could do it all at once by having a wireless microphone. I have what's called the Rode Wireless Go. I love it. I've made a lot of videos on it. It was about $200 plus a few dollars for a couple of the cords. You can look into that. I also have a budget version that I've been recommending called the Pixel Vocal Air, which is similar. The quality of the voice is the same. I don't know about the materials themselves. They both work just fine and they pick up audio really well. So I love a good wireless microphone. For cameras, I actually use my laptop and I use a camera called the Logitech C920. It's an HD webcam. I love it, even though it does autofocus. It gets a little blurry here and there. I really like it. I don't necessarily recommend it to get started because you don't need it. If I actually had a working camera on my phone, or if I had an iPhone 11 or soon to be iPhone 12, I would probably just use that. But right now, my camera on my phone actually doesn't work. So I've been using my computer and it's great. If you're looking to upgrade your lighting, something like this. I've got a couple lights on me right now. It is dark out. You want to make sure that the light is in front of you. So if you have a window, step back from it and your camera might be at the window. That could be really helpful if you don't want to buy lights. You can also grab a bunch of lamps from inside your house and put them in front of you, on sides of you, and brighten you up. Or just, again, work with what you have and do what you can. Just make sure to avoid being backlit by a window or bright lights behind you. Have the lights coming from in front of you. Now let's talk about setting up your actual space. You've got a few pieces of equipment, you know what you've got to use, but where do you set all of these things? Okay, so your camera has to be about 8 feet in front of you in order to get the full length of your body. And it's going to be at waist height. So waist height and about 8 feet in front of you. If you don't have a full 8 feet, maybe you'd get started by just doing some seated pose yoga practices. So you only need a few more feet and you can bring the camera down a little lower. 8 feet's going to ensure that you get about a few inches at the top of the head all the way down to your yoga mat or your feet. So you want to see all of that. If you're not able to see your arms when you reach up, that's okay. You can talk through that, no problem. Hands connect, reach up. Typically when you're in a lunge though, you can still see your hands because you're lower to the surface. If you try to set your camera up so that you can see yourself when you're on your tippy toes and reaching your hands way up, you might actually become very small on the screen and very difficult for someone to see. I also recommend lengthwise, so a long mat along the horizontal frame of the video, especially if you are filming horizontally. Most people are going to be watching on a computer or even hooking it up to the TV. So these videos are still really relevant to the horizontal way, the right and left long way. Some people do like to turn their phones and film in that up and down way so that you don't have to have the camera so far. But when you put that to a TV or a computer, you don't get as much to fill the screen. So I still film in the wider way with a long mat on the side, and then you're seeing a side view of me or of the teacher. And I will consistently and constantly look over to the camera and make eye contact because I want to make sure it looks like and feels like I'm talking to my students on the other end of the camera. So I'll be looking at that little dot, not at the screen, at the dot of the camera, the webcam or the phone. So you're not looking at the screen of the phone, but you're looking directly into where that camera is placed. And that's eye contact. Very important. We talked about lighting already. If you are interested in more of like a light kit or a light setup, in my apartment, I've got 2 lights on the sides of me, and then I've got some other lights that are actually at my face already, so I don't need another one. But a 3-point light system would be the best because it fills the space. So 2 on the sides looking at you and 1 in front of you. A ring light could also work. I think anything that just gives you more light is going to work just fine. A ring light is a little bit more harsh and more direct, so that would be again one that you'd be straight in front of you. In my apartment, I went with a very cheap light kit. I have 2 lights actually that were $70, I believe, 2 softbox like lights that I just stick on the side of my apartment. And I have these same ones in my yoga studio. I have 3 of them, and the set of 3 costs $100. So I just wanted to get something to bring in more light. It can be any brand. I wasn't picky. I really just chose the cheapest one with the most stars. The only thing about these is that they tend to tip over, so you want to put sandbags around them on the base or something because the light bulbs can and will break. I've already broken a few and they're not cheap to replace, so the light bulbs themselves are about $20 to replace. That's something just to consider. Make sure that you're not tripping over the cords or knocking them over. Let's get back to your space, setting up your space. So you've got your mat along the middle, typically centered on the frame of your video. What you also want to do is make sure your background behind you is a clear space. So a blank wall or a almost blank wall like this would work because it's still the same color scheme. I could probably have this little screen behind me. That's okay. But you don't want something like a bookshelf or something really cluttered and messy directly behind you. In my videos, I have a bookshelf on the side and then a chair on the side, and the middle is where I place my mat. And it's white on the background with my shades drawn. You can see all of that here. And I make sure that there's a few feet of space between me and the wall. I don't want to be bumped up right to the wall for a couple reasons. Number one, it casts really harsh shadows the closer you are to the wall if you don't have the fancy light setup. And also, I don't really like bumping my hands against the wall when I'm reaching or lengthening. So it makes it a little claustrophobic. So you'll want to have a little bit of space for some depth from you to the wall if you have the space that allows for that. If not, it's okay. Get up to the wall so you can make sure that you're in the full shot. If you have a corner of a room, and you can set yourself up long ways on the corner. That's also a really great idea. So you have that little corner nook space as somewhere where you can reach up, and it looks a little bit more pleasing to the eye. Now let's talk about the clothes that you're going to wear when you're filming yoga videos. Keep it simple. So for yoga videos and demonstration, and just generally when you're teaching fitness classes, you will want tighter fitting clothing so that you're able to see the demonstrations that you're doing. So if you have baggy clothes, you're not able to see the full range of motion or the bend in the knee or where your arms are or if your elbows are bent. So baggy clothes are a little bit challenging if you're teaching asana and poses. And also avoiding black for videos. If you wear black, at least on the legs at the bottom, it's really hard to differentiate which leg is forward, and you don't get the shadows because it's completely black. So I'd recommend, if you're doing neutral, do more of a gray tone or a little lighter than a black color, just not pitch black. It might be slimming, but it also hides you, and we don't want to be hidden. Show up as a real person with however you look, how your body is, and people will appreciate your authenticity and your confidence to show up exactly as you are in a little bit tighter fitting clothing and not black. Don't try to hide yourself when you're teaching fitness online. The third thing you have to consider when you are teaching yoga classes virtually is having a script ready. Not just a script for your yoga poses and what you're teaching, but knowing there is more scripting for your introduction, for telling people where to find you, to work with you further. This is promotion in itself. So if someone is watching your video, pre-recorded or live, make sure you come with that introduction. Hey everyone, my name is Ashley. Today we are doing a dynamic vinyasa power flow. This is going to be about 60 minutes. You'll need a yoga mat and a set of blocks. If you don't have blocks, you can grab some random books or just go without. It's fine. You can learn more about my classes or find me on YouTube, social media, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's get started. Something just like that. It should be 1 minute or less. People want to start fast, but you still want to tell people who you are, what to expect, and where they can find more. All right, so make sure you have an introduction script. As for the script for your actual classes, for lesson planning, I recommend checking out my free guide that I have for yoga class sequencing. It applies to both online and offline classes. So my free 4-part guide, or it's actually a 10-step system, but a 4-part guide to yoga class planning. You can find that at ashesyoga.com/guide. It just makes it easy for new teachers to build their own sequences in a very simple way. I try to break it down so it's not like textbook overwhelming. Now I want to hear from you. Make sure that you comment below and let me know. Do you plan your classes ahead of time? Do you write them out in a notebook? Or do you just teach on the fly? I would love to hear from you. I'm always curious what other yoga teachers do to plan their yoga classes. All right, step number 4 in this process to teaching virtual yoga. What do you do with that video file? What do you do from there? You might do video editing, or you might just post it out for the world to see. So simple video editing. Let's talk about a couple video editing techniques. One thing I almost always do is to trim the edges. Just give it a little trim. So that means bringing in the beginning of class to the point that I'm doing my introduction, and bringing in the end of class to the point that I've come up from the final bow. Reason I do that is it's just kind of awkward to have like myself shuffling up here and getting ready for class and like hitting the record button and going, okay, set things up, water goes here. So I just want to trim it. It's like 15 seconds maybe on the ends. You can do that in a couple ways. I typically just do it on my Mac computer. You click on the file and there's actually a little button or a option at the bottom in the file folder to trim the video. So I click trim and I drag it in. I make sure to hold down the yellow bar to drag it in slowly to find the spot where I started. You could even have a gesture or something that you do, or a clap or something before you get started so you know where to trim it. And then I do the same thing at the back end of it. I bring it in. You can also do this in iMovie or Windows Media Player. any kind of video editing app. And if you don't want to work with an app and you're uploading directly to YouTube, you can also do it in YouTube after you upload. YouTube is not a video editing software, but you can do very basic things like trim the edges very simply. So you would go to the back end of YouTube, go to edit the video. I don't use that a whole lot and I don't recommend editing in YouTube, but again, if you don't do it right away, you can do it after you upload it. If you want to make thumbnails or title pages or insert little photos and things like that, or graphics, or even graphics for advertising your new video or your new class, you can do that in a software, a web-based software called Canva, canva.com. And inside of that, you can very easily become a graphic designer even if you've never done graphic design. So they make it really simple. You can upload your files or download your files, upload them, save them. Now that you have the recording, here's step 5. What do you do with that recorded file? Maybe you've edited it, maybe you've trimmed it, maybe you've just left it as it is, but what do you do with it? Here's what you do. First, back it up on an external hard drive. So drag it over to an external hard drive so you have it off of your computer. You'll also want to save it on a cloud storage software or a cloud storage system like Dropbox or iCloud or Google Drive or Amazon's S3 storage. So you'll want to back it up a few places and at least on an external hard drive, because video files can get rather large and they can take up a lot of space on your desktop if you are doing video editing and saving them on your computer. I also upload all of my videos to YouTube. The reason I do this, even if I'm never going to publish it, is it's another way to back it up. So later on, if I do lose my files, I can go into YouTube and download the file that I had uploaded. And YouTube, you have the option to keep it private, which means no one but you can see it. You can keep it unlisted, so anyone with the link, or if you embed it someplace, can see it, only those people. Or you can make it public, which means it's searchable and the world can find it if you want them to and if you promote it. Each has its own reason for having it public, private, or unlisted. Maybe you're not ready to promote it to the world yet, or maybe you never want to. Maybe it's just backup, but I always upload to YouTube. And the 6th step to becoming a virtual yoga teacher is to promote and get paid. So if you're doing live stream, make sure that you have it set up where people can book the classes ahead of time and do everything automatically and with a system, so you don't have to do that back and forth, because that can get old real fast. So make sure you have a scheduling or booking software. I like the software Acuity Scheduling. That's one of my favorites just because it automatically gives a Zoom link out. People have to pay before they book. You can do private lessons, group lessons, all sorts of things. And then you just want to promote on all the social media channels, everything. Put your links to sign up to your business, to your website, to your YouTube channel, whatever's most important to you, in your descriptions, in your about section, in your bios, in your Instagram, everywhere. So it's really just about shouting to the world, hey, I'm open for business. I'm doing this thing. I teach yoga. Join me. And one of the best things you can do is stay consistent. Upload a video once a week. When you're getting started, 1 video a week is enough. Just getting used to it. And then we've got all these other things we have to do, right? And finally, step number 7, or the last thing that you want to consider when you are starting a virtual yoga business from home, is the legal considerations. Disclaimer, I am not a lawyer. I can't offer legal advice, but I want you to be in the know of what it takes to be legal to start a business from home teaching virtual yoga. First thing is liability insurance. Make sure that it covers online teaching. Make sure you have a waiver in your scheduling and booking software. Make sure that you have disclaimers on all of your videos and on your website and anywhere that you post your videos. And even in the video itself, you could have a disclaimer on the screen. Along with the legal considerations, also know the music legalities when it comes to group fitness classes. It is considered a public performance, so you need to be using royalty-free music or music that you're able to share on the internet and public performance without having to pay these hefty fees to these licensing agencies. Now that I've told you all about getting started teaching yoga online from home, now it's your turn. So if you are a yoga teacher and you are teaching from home and you've done it already, I would love for you to take the link to that video on YouTube preferably and link it down below in a comment so I can check it out. I want to see your setup, what you do, how it looks, and also just give you a little bit of support on your journey. And of course, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and if you want more tips on teaching yoga from home and the equipment that you need to use, check out these other videos.